Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome into Life After 3. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing great. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy through this whole pandemic thing. It's great that you're here, and I'm happy you're here watching. And speaking of watching, while you're watching this, you can watch it live, and you can actually play trivia. You can play along. You can answer questions. You can do various things. Just go to thebrinks.tv. And you guys can join in, and you guys can ask questions. You guys can, trivia about WrestleMania, about Glow, about everything else that I've done. So just tune in. Remember, that's brinks.tv. Okay. So with that being said, I want to thank Killcliff, my sponsor. These guys have been amazing. They're the clean drink guys for us. So they actually have a new drink that they dropped. It's the high octane Cliffsicle. It's caffeine and CBD. And the reason I bring this up is because my mother has some very arthritic things that she has. She's 74 years old, and she's drank these for the last couple months, and she is feeling great. She's feeling comfortable. So go check it out. And with that said, if you guys are interested in any of the drinks, my favorite is the fruit punch. It's nice and clean. I've never been a real big energy drink guy, but the fact, that I'm drinking Killcliff, and I'm not saying this because they sponsor me. I'm saying it because it's the truth. So that's all you're ever going to get on Life After 3. You're going to get the truth. So with that being said, I want you guys to own it. And if you guys want to investigate this, please go to the killcliff.com website. Check it out. We got merch. We got drinks. We got everything that you guys want to do. And with that being said, I'm really excited about this guest. We met when I was out on tour in 2019, and he and I have become some very good friends, and it was music that brought us together. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring in my buddy, the one and only Fernando Castro. Welcome, Fernando.
Yeah. What's up, Marty?
Hey.
How's it going?
Going great, man. Blessed, dude. How are you? Good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a beautiful day today, and I am excited because this is my first podcast.
Ooh, hey, look at that. We got an exclusive. Fernando's first podcast interview, and he's doing it right here on Life After 3. Huh? Thank you so much, bud. So how's it going, man? How you doing?
I just got to say, it's kind of intriguing to me because I usually don't get nervous about things. I've been on the stage a million times, performed in front of like dozens of crowds, different types of crowds. And for whatever reason, I had the jitters before coming on this podcast. I'm a little flustered here.
Well, just take your time. Just, it's going to be a good show. We're going to get into some good stuff, man.
We're just going to go.
We're just going to go. So, hey, with that being said, tell everybody how we met in 2019, man.
All right. So my perspective is quite unique. Oh, that's a nice photo right there.
Yeah, look at that, huh?
I love that photo. Okay. All right. So to give everyone of your viewers a basic gist, so I'm a headliner for a show called Legends in Concert, which is the longest running show on the Las Vegas Strip. So in 2019, I began my tenure with my company, and it's kind of interesting because I have been working to get to this place for a long time. I'm originally from Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
And I moved to Las Vegas to pursue and succeed in a career in entertainment. So it was literally my first week headlining on the Las Vegas Strip, right? My first week. And, obviously there's a lot of pressure. I've never performed in front of this type of audience before. I've never performed on the Las Vegas Strip during this time period. So on my first week, you can imagine the immense amount of pressure that there is for me to perform and execute at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I remember, first show goes very well. There's like hundreds of people in the audience. Second show really well, hundreds of people. And it was my first Monday night. I distinctly remember it was a Monday night. Okay.
Yes, it was. It was our day off from the tour.
Yeah. All right. So it was a Monday night. And the reason that is such a memorable thing for me is because it was my first time ever performing on a Monday night. I'm like, yeah, nobody's gonna come to the show tonight. It's Monday. But little did I know that in Las Vegas, anything happens and anything can happen at any given time. So on a Monday night, I'm like, all right, it's gonna be an easy night tonight, not a lot of pressure. It's only my third night, in the show, and I'm still gonna bring my A game no matter what, but Monday night's not gonna be too crazy. And as I'm performing, like in my first or second song, I just see this massive entourage of people. Marty was there, and I see this guy that looks familiar with his long blonde hair, and I'm just like, man, who the hell is this guy? I'm trying to, I'm focused on the lyrics of the song, focused on performing. I see this guy. And I'm looking, I have my shades on, the spotlights, and I'm like, is that Chris Jericho? Is Chris Jericho at my show on a Monday night? What's going on over here? What the hell's going on? So after my song, I remember pointing out to him, and I was like, is that Chris Jericho? And everybody started cheering. Everybody went crazy. And I knew it was him. So I had two options. Option A was be the nice guy. Oh, thank you, Chris, for coming, et cetera, et cetera. Or option B, which is the one that I selected, is antagonize him.
Mm-hmm. So I remember that.
I'm gonna antagonize him because when I was little, I used to remember him antagonizing people. I was like, I'm gonna antagonize this guy. And I hadn't seen wrestling in a long time, but I distinctly recall that something happened where he like won the title and he was the first champion of AEW, and then he lost it. Yes. So I just said, oh, is that the champion? And everyone's cheering, oh, Chris Jericho, whatever. I go, yeah, well, I mean, you lost the title, so you're not really the champion. I don't remember what I said, but everybody started laughing, cracking up. And then, what I ended up doing afterwards, we had some fun, some antics on stage, and I finished my performance. And I was so grateful that I got to perform for one of like my childhood idols, because I watched him since I was little with the Y2J thing and whatever. I had a Y2J shirt that I would wear, out and about, and people were like, what is that? What is Y2J? Nobody knew what it was. But I remember I sent over a bottle of whatever you guys were drinking to the table. And
yes, then, you did.
And I wrote down a note. I was like, hey, thank you for inspiring me. It's an honor to perform for you. And, you've entertained me all these years. So thank you for allowing me to entertain you. And then the rest is history. Then we met at the photo opportunity after the show. And then Marty and I hit it. And that was it. That was the beginning of our friendship.
Yeah, it was great because we were watching the show, and when you acknowledged him, because I was sitting in the booth with him, when you acknowledged him, he said, did he just say that about the belt? And I go, yeah, he did. What are you going to do about it? And Chris kind of like, I'm going to go get him. And
imagine, tackled me on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Third day performing.
He mentioned that. He goes, I should run up on stage and tackle him. And I went, well, go for it, man. And so we were laughing about it. So when you send the bottle over with the note, and Chris got it, and he goes, what's this? Because the host brought it over, and Chris goes, who's this from? And she goes, it's from Freddie. And Chris goes, so he reads a note out loud, and he goes, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. And then after the show, we went and we met and we talked, and, we connected, and, it was such an amazing time, man. And, we were out on tour, so it was great for us to let our hair down, so to speak, and go have some fun. And, yeah, there you go. So it was awesome, man. So on that note, I know that you do the Freddie thing. We know this, but you also are an amazing musician and singer, man. And I know that you're doing some of your own stuff, so tell us about that.
Man, I've had quite the eclectic musical journey. It's been really interesting because, as an artist, you're always trying to figure out or find out like who you are.
There you are in the studio there, bud.
Oh yeah, that's us right there recording my first album. I have some interesting stories about that. That's in Miami, Florida. And I was recording right there with I don't know, is Chris there? I can't see Chris. I'm sure there's a picture somewhere about Chris. So Chris is my guitar player, and he's an incredible musician. Him and I, you know, we've been playing for a while. And then that right there, that guy with the hat, that's Miami Beat Wave, my friend Brandon. So he essentially produced his first heavy metal / like rock album, because he's more of like a hip hop producer.
Gotcha.
And he's amazing as well. And he he was quite perplexed with some of the ideas that I had for this album. And that's my friend Willie right there. He's an incredible drummer and he's holding the bass, but you know, he's also an amazing musician. So with my musical journey, it was pretty much the following. Like I've really understood the importance of finding your sound as a musician. And the best way to do it is to just forget about everything else, forget about everybody else, and focus on you and what makes you feel, or what ignites the passion within you, what allows the flames to burn, you know, because I've tried it all. Like, yeah, all right, this music was popular, you know, and people would push me, like try to like make me gravitate towards recording one style of music, and I wasn't really feeling it. Then, you know, all right, let's try this. And then I started experimenting and just honing my sound, but nothing was really making me feel anything except for when I recorded rock and roll music, you know, old fashioned rock and roll. That's what it's about for me.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what was that like working with a hip hop producer? Because I'm sure that's a whole different genre of music. So did he bring different ideas to the table, and was he kind of perplexed with your ideas on what you wanted to do?
Yeah, you know, that there was a few instances where his contributions were so like far out for this particular genre that I was trying to create, and it came from his ear and his extensive background, because you know, he listens to things in a different manner, and he listens to a different style of music. So it was an oddball combination, but it seemed to work out in the end. So I mean, imagine this guy has been doing nonstop, you know, hip hop, R&B productions, pop, and then goes into out of nowhere into a rock and roll, hard rock, heavy metal album. And it almost felt at times like if I was torturing him. So I almost felt like I was torturing him, because he wasn't accustomed or acclimated to hearing that type of violent and aggressive,
loud guitar, loud groove, everything else, you know,
that sound wave. But it was so much fun. It was such a like being in the studio. There's nothing like being in the studio. Like if you're a musician and you love to record and just create, there's nothing like being in the studio, you know?
So is your music available? Is there any platform that, you know, that the audience can go grab it and check it out and support you?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I believe I just found out when I came back to Vegas that we're on Pandora. I had no idea we were on Pandora.
Nice.
Pandora.
Folks, go to Pandora, check out Fernando's stuff. Is there any particular name, a banner that it's under, or is it just Fernando Castro?
So the name of the band is Maniac Christ. So it's under, it's like a very, that's a whole nother. I remember my guitar player, Chris, we were looking for a band name for a long time. It's like, we're trying to come up with something. We came up with the most obscure, random word combinations. We're thinking about everything. I remember one of the names was like The Corporation. And then tying it back to you, Marty, I was like, wait a second. Wasn't that like a wrestling faction?
Yes, it was in WWF back in the early 2000s during the Attitude Era. Why do I know this?
Like, I can't have my band named after McMahon. And
exactly. Knowing McMahon, who'd come after you.
So we kept on, you know, trying to think of a band name and all this stuff. And Chris, he then says to me one day, like, he used to love horror movies. So he would like write guitar riffs watching Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street and all that stuff. And one day he calls me and he's like, I got the band name. And I'm like, listen, dude, we've been going over these band names for like a year now. Like, I'm tired. I need a break from coming up with these band names. And he goes, no, this is the one. And I'm so picky in particular. Like, I know you are too, Marty. Like, I'm so picky in particular. Like, I want a legendary band name. Like, if it's not legendary status, like, I don't want to be associated with it. So it's like, I need to have something memorable or something that makes people think, you know, like a Led Zeppelin. You know, I think Led Zeppelin is a legendary band name. Guns N' Roses, you know, Black Sabbath,
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. You know, even something as simple as Kiss. Like,
Yeah.
Kiss is just straight to the point. You know, it's boom. Judas Priest. I want something catchy and legendary. By the way, Marty, do you know the story about Led Zeppelin? You know how they got their name?
No, tell me.
It's a pretty cool story. So I can't recall if it was Pete Townshend from the Who, the guitar player, or if it was Roger Daltrey, the singer. But apparently when Led Zeppelin first came out, and, you know, some members from the Who, they were doing a press conference, and they were analyzing and critiquing the music of Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin was known as something else at the time. And I think Jimmy Page played for the Yardbirds.
Yeah, you know what? I believe that they were called the New Yardbirds for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it went to Zeppelin.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So something happened in this press conference because Led Zeppelin for that time, you know, many thought that their music was too radical and a bit too extreme for that time, and or either Roger Daltrey or Pete Townshend said something along the lines of, "Oh, the music of this band, the New Yardbirds, it's never gonna make it. This band is never gonna make it. It's too aggressive, too chaotic. They're like a Zeppelin made out of lead. They're just gonna crash and burn."
Wow.
And for those that don't know, a Zeppelin is a British airship. So imagine like one of those like big blimps made out of lead, boom, just crash and burn. So of course, these guys being as legendary as they are, like, we're gonna name our band that.
That's interesting. I never knew that. And you know, it's funny because I'm a rock guy and I know musical trivia and history and stuff that's irrelevant and I don't need to know it. But hey, I just learned something else, man.
Pretty cool.
So I want to know something, and I wanted to wait to ask you on this podcast. So what was it like becoming Freddie Mercury, and how did that transpire, and how did that happen and come about?
Oh, all right. So we're going to get there, but back to tie it into, this is going to be a long one, Marty.
Yeah.
I'm feeling spicy.
Yeah.
So with my band name, so my guitar player calls me and he's like, "I got the band name." I was like, "What's the band name?" And he goes, "It's Maniac Christ." I was like, "What? Why?" And he goes, "I was watching a movie called Maniac Cop, where it's a serial killer cop who just goes on a rampage." And then he's like, "Well, you look like Jesus and you're a maniac, so let's call the band Maniac Christ." And I said, "Oh, okay, let's go with that." I think that's
wow.
One of those names that people will not forget. So I was like, all right, I think that's pretty out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know? Wow. So Freddie, how did Freddie come into your life?
Okay. So Marty, do you believe that sometimes things are just meant to be? Like, do you believe in fate, destiny? Do you feel like sometimes things are placed right in front of you, or just gifts are bestowed upon you if you're open to them?
100%. I'm all about energy and vibe, and what you put out to the universe is what the universe is going to give you back. So I'm 100% behind you on that, and really truly believe that.
Okay. So I'm definitely of that opinion. I truly believe that and know that as well. So Freddie Mercury had always been my favorite singer. Like, if you recall, like when you're a little kid, like you're 10 years old, 9 years old, 5 years old, like, do you recall the first time you connected with a band or an artist or a vocalist? Do you ever recall the first time music made you feel some sort of sensation? You recall?
Yeah, I remember being 8 years old and connecting with Kiss when I seen the cover of Kiss Alive, and it was like a magical thing. I just still remember it to this day, and I still remember connecting with Motley Crue, that first Leather Records, Too Fast for Love, and going like, "These are my guys," and I still got that connection.
So I remember I was at Dayland Mall. It's like it's a really notorious mall in Miami, Florida. And I must have been like 9 or 10 years old. And my mom, she was like, all right, it was after school. And you know, we went to the parking lot, and it was, I remember it was really slammed that day, a ton of people at the mall. And she goes, I'm going to show you something awesome. It's like, all right. And she's like, I'm going to buy this CD and you're going to love it. And I was like a little kid. I was like, I didn't like anything at that. Like, I'm still developing my personality, my sense of humor. I don't know what comedy is. I don't know what music is. I'm just like a little kid, just, you know, living the dream. And my mom buys the CD and she pops the CD and we're listening to it in the parking lot. And I just remember like it's the first time I felt some sort of sensation or some sort of, the first time I felt anything regarding music. And I remember, wow, I thought this guy's voice was so cool. And then my mom was telling me, yeah, like this is the best band. This is the best, you know, whatever. And from that point forward, you know, sporadically I would listen to Queen and Freddie. But even after all that time, you know, I would always circle my way back to them. And the more music I was exposed to, the more I realized like the true genius of Freddie Mercury and how incredibly talented and majestic he was, like in every aspect. So little by little, I would, you know, come back around, listen to some more stuff, listen to some more, you know, hidden tracks or tracks that weren't as famous, check out the live shows, check out everything. And to me, he's still the greatest vocalist of all time.
Amen. Amen. He's my favorite singer of all time. You know?
Just something about his voice.
Yeah, and what I loved about Freddie, that Freddie was writing and singing and doing all these things like Bohemian Rhapsody and all these things prior to Pro Tools, prior to in-ears, prior to all the gadgets that they do with you know, live music and recorded music today. That was all Freddie. And that's the thing that I admire about Freddie Mercury, and especially guys from that era, is that they were doing this stuff in the studio without any gimmicks or any type of toys to enhance the product. And he even did that live. And people today, unfortunately, need those gimmicks to sound a certain way, but it was all Freddie. And to me, that's why he's the greatest vocalist of all time, because he was able to do that in that era. Where in today's era in music, people go like, oh my God, he was doing that before all this. So love Freddie.
Yeah, there's so many incredible things, especially like me doing what I do and paying tribute to him and honoring his legacy. It's like so many intricacies about Freddie that I have found out through what I do. And it becomes so much more like enrapturing. It's so cool everything that he did. But yeah, tying it back to the band. So you know, I paid my dues. I went through a lot of stuff, and when I was in Miami, Florida, you know, you name it, I did it. I was working 2 jobs at a certain point. I had no car. I had like $30 in my bank account, you know, and I learned a couple of very valuable lessons, and you know, and I pridefully took the bus to go to work. On many occasions, sometimes I would pay an Uber to get to my job, and I would make less money than what I paid to get to my job. And everybody was asking me, like, why are you doing this? Just buy a car. Why are you wearing the same clothes like 4 or 5 days in a row? And I was like, you know why? Because I'm recording my album, and that's it. If I die tomorrow, nobody's going to care that I have a new car. Nobody's going to care what I wore. Nobody's going to care nothing. And it's going to mean nothing to me. But what's going to mean something is if something happens to me and I have, boom, everybody can access my thoughts via my lyrics, my music via whatever platform, that's going to be forever. And, you know, that's what I decided to do. So I spent all my hard-earned money on recording my album. And, nice. And that's what pretty much opened the doors of possibilities for me. I recorded it, and boom, everyone like started, you know.
Have the members like Brian May, Roger Taylor, have those guys heard about you? Do you know if they've heard about you or seen what you do, because I'm not saying this because we're friends or whatever, dude. You're like the greatest Freddie guy that I've seen, man. And I've seen a lot of music guys. I've seen people do it. You know, there's a band out here in LA called Queen Nation. And the guy, I say tries to do Freddie, but when I saw you and then I seen you recently, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. You know, it's like, I'm sure the Queen guys have had to have heard about you by now.
I have no idea. I haven't tried reaching out to them, and my management hasn't tried reaching out to them. But what I can tell you is there's something that distinguishes me, and that's that I pay tribute solely to Freddie Mercury. So, so for example, the Queen Nation, that's Queen Nation. So they're doing a tribute to Queen. And you know, in my opinion, I love what these Queen tributes do, because they're playing tribute to arguably the greatest band of our generation. And, you know, these guys were so eclectic. They did every type of music. I mean, it influenced everybody, in my opinion. But again, respectively, they're paying tribute to Queen. And my whole thing, and this is why my company and my show is called Legends in Concert, is because we want to provide legendary, memorable experiences for people that cannot witness something at its current state. So for example, right now, if I wanted to, I can buy a ticket to Queen and see them with Adam Lambert. Yeah. I love Adam Lambert. I love Brian May, Roger Taylor. John Deacon's not performing with them right now, but I can go and I can check them out and have an amazing time. I can also go see, you know, a full Queen tribute. But I pay tribute specifically and solely to Freddie Mercury. And that's what I would say differentiates me. You know, I'm the first ever Freddie Mercury tribute artist to headline on the Las Vegas Strip.
Wow. Yeah. That's huge, man. And, you know, we'll get to that. But how did you get involved with Legends? How did that gig come about, man? I mean, because it had to be somebody seeing you and going, hey, this is a Freddie guy and this guy's great. And so how did that transpire? How did that come around and you end up in Vegas headlining at the Tropicana, man? I mean, dude, what a story.
Such a crazy story. Like I said, like all these things that have happened, it's like, it's part of it is me creating the opportunities because of my just like my will and my determinations. Like I'm not gonna do what anybody says, and I'm gonna go and record my album. I don't care if I have to take the bus to work. Those extra $5 are going to my album, to the recording studio. So once I completed my debut album, which is called interestingly enough, we talked about we briefly mentioned Black Sabbath earlier. Yeah. My album, my debut album, I titled it Memoirs of a Maniac, because I thought that was an interesting little play on words. And it was like I had these songs for a while, and then I noticed that Ozzy Osbourne also had an album, I think, called Memoirs of a Madman or Memoirs of a Maniac, something very similar. Yeah. But anyways, once I put the music out there, some people were noticing that some of the intricacies and nuances of my voice sounded in certain regards similar to Freddie's. Yeah. You know, and Freddie had a very special and particular timbre. Like his vocal tonality was very, very unique, and in certain areas people noticed a few things like, oh wow, you sound like Freddie Mercury here. So I was contacted randomly to this is a funny story. I'm gonna tell you how this started. This is okay.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. This is let me see how I word this one, because this is kind of crazy now that I think about it. Okay, so I recorded my album, right? And you know, I put it out on all these streaming platforms. I spent thousands of dollars on this. I had no car, wearing the same clothes, you know. It was a rough time, let's put it that way. But you know what? I had my album, boom, it was out there. I put it out into the universe. Let's see what happens. few months pass, nothing happens. But you know what? It's not, for me, I was very content because I achieved like one of my life goals. I wanted to record an album and do it all on my own. You know, I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone to give me a record deal or for someone to discover me.
Yeah, you're going to put in the work. You're going to put in the work.
I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
I independently funded it and did it myself. So I noticed when I would log on to like Spotify and all these streaming services and platforms, and you could look at who's listening to you and where. And for whatever reason, you know, I had my friends in Florida and, you know, all my people listening to my stuff, but I wanted to access people that were true fans of the genre, and I didn't know how to do that. And I noticed one day it said, you have one listener from India. I was like, what? I got a listener from India. This is amazing. I have a fan now. So I have my one
fan.
I have one fan from India.
But
right?
you know, that's all it takes. It just takes one, bro. That's
one
it.
fan from India. I was like ecstatic. I was telling my friends, like, guys, you don't understand. Like, I have a fan. This is amazing. He loves my music. And this guy would like write me messages like, you're an inspiration. I'm like, does this guy know that I'm, you know, that he's my only fan? Like, he doesn't know he's my only fan. But anyways, you know, that kind of, for me, it's like, I'm just happy that I accomplished something I set out to do that I was so passionate about. And upon putting the music out there and a few of my friends listening and showcasing it to their people and whatever, I got a phone call one day about an opportunity at Prince's old nightclub in South Beach. Okay, so have you ever heard of a nightclub called Mansion in Miami, Florida?
Yeah.
Okay, so on South Beach, so Mansion is notorious for being the biggest space. It's the biggest nightclub on South Beach. Massive area. And they went through a few legal issues. I remember when Prince owned it, it was called Glam Slam, like in the 80s or the early 90s. Then it went through something else and it turned into Mansion. And then they went through some legal issues with some bodyguards and a lawsuit with like a patron or whatever. And then this drug lord bought the nightclub and turned it into Copa Room, right? I didn't know this at the time. This is what ended up happening. He turned it into Copa Room, and it was designed or designated to be like the next Las Vegas style, you know, show.
Gotcha.
In Miami, Florida. It had never been done before at this time, from my understanding. So he wanted to get like tribute acts. He wanted to bring in like a Celia Cruz tribute artist, you know, Ricky Martin impersonator, you know, whatever it was. And they needed someone to do Freddie Mercury. So they were auditioning all these people. Nobody was getting through because you had to sing live. And then I auditioned, and they were like, "Oh wow, like you sound like Freddie. Let's do this." I'm like,
yeah.
When do I start? What do I got to do? They said, "All right, look, you have to dress like Freddie Mercury. You got to wear like his military pants. You got to wear the yellow jacket. You got to wear, if you're not gonna cut your hair, you got to put a wig on." I'm like, wait, what do you mean I got to dress like Freddie Mercury? What do you mean I got to dress like Freddie Mercury? It's like, yeah, you got to dress like Freddie Mercury. So that to me was already weird. And I was like, all right. When they told me what I was going to get paid, I was like, fine, whatever. I'm going to try it out. I did it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was like incredible. I loved it so much. I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Like, this is.
So did you feel when they told you that, and when you put the wig and you dressed, did you feel that you became Freddie? Because when I see you up on stage doing it, I feel you're Freddie, dude. I really do. And I'm not blowing smoke up your rear end. I feel that you're Freddie, dude. And so let me ask, did you feel that you became Freddie, and this was something that fate, energy said, Fernando, you're going to be Freddie?
So little by little, as time progressed, I definitely feel a much more poignant and strong connection with Freddie Mercury. You know, because I've spent so much time like dissecting his character and all the nuances and complexities of his voice and everything. But when I first started out, it was kind of like one of those experiences where this is what's happening. I'm doing this, I'm living the moment, and it is what it is. And you know, there is a negative stigma associated with our industry because, you know, you think about old Vegas and all the Elvis impersonators and this and that. But if you really think about it, if people really paid attention, like, you're essentially playing a character. It's like being in a movie. Like, you study your character. If you're going to portray, you know, Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, you're going to play Dan Marino, or you're going to play the Joker, whatever it is, you got to study your character, learn about it, put your own twist and spin on it, and be as authentic as you can be. And then you play the character on screen. So for me, it's essentially the same thing, except I'm personifying Freddie Mercury on stage in concert and singing live and playing live. So to me, it's very, very comparable. So at first I was just like, you know, I'm playing a character. This is cool. He just so happens to be, you know, my favorite singer. And it's so interesting that everything goes full circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was initially just not really thinking much about it. My costume was, it was not adequate, to say the least. It was like a cheap, I was like wearing like a white shirt and some like $30 pants. And little did I know where that was going to lead me to, you know, because I recall a moment in particular where, okay, so this nightclub, we're gonna take it up a notch right now, Marty, because you got to say the story the way it is, right? So I remember, you know, I'm performing, right? I'm giving it my all. I'm giving it my all every night. I remember I was performing Friday and Saturday, and the owner of the nightclub, right? You know, he was putting all his money into this nightclub. And he renovated the whole thing, brand new, like speaker system,
sound system, PA, everything,
brand
lighting,
new PA, brand new lighting, brand new, you know, wooden floors, brand new everything, completely renovated and remodeled, the whole deal. The guy must have spent millions of dollars doing that. And he starts off saying, look, the goal is to perform every night. So we're going to be open 6 to 7 nights a week. And, you know, and we want this place to be slammed. And we're going to start off Friday and Saturday only. And we're going to see where the crowds are at, you know, what the gate is, how many people are coming in, what the revenue is. And then we're going to start expanding. Very convincing guy. All right, cool. That sounds good to me. So Friday and Saturday come, and mind you, the premise of this nightclub was this is so weird. Like, usually people go to South Beach. Let's say they pay $30 for an entry, $50 for an entry. You get into the club. And then when you get into the club, if you want to have an adult beverage, you pay another $30. You want to have another one, you know, in the next 30 minutes, another $30. So before you know it, you've already spent like $100, right? So the premise of this nightclub was you get in and it's going to cost you $100. But when you get in, it's all you can drink. Unlimited. Wow. That was the premise of this nightclub. So
I like that nightclub.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting, but I remember telling one of my best friends, Gabriel, he's an accountant, and then my father, he's a vice president of the Equitable. He's a financial advisor, and I told both of them, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be performing in the biggest nightclub on South Beach. It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be amazing. And they said, oh, that business is gonna fail. It's like, what do you mean it's going to fail? It sounds amazing deal. $100, you get all you can drink. It's amazing. They're like, no, the business is going to fail. Give it like 2 or 3 months. It's done. I was like, okay, let's see about this. Let's see if you're right, Pops. Because I didn't agree with him. And I'm there on stage Friday and Saturday, giving it my all, drenched in sweat, so into the character. I'm like doing what I love to do. And I just remember one night, this was what struck a nerve. I'm never going to forget this. One night, I was performing, right? And it was a Friday and nobody came to the club, right? There must have been 20 people tops. And this place could hold thousands of people.
There was a Friday night.
On a Friday night, 20, 30 people, right? A few of those would probably come. They probably didn't pay the $100. But I remember just, you know, and for me, I don't care. Look, as long as one person, you know, as long as one person gets moved by the performance or has an incredible, like, memorable experience, you know, I do a lot of it for myself and for everybody else, and, you know, to pay tribute to Freddie. But, you know, as long as somebody's out there having a good time.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was performing, I was like drenched and I was like in the zone. I remember looking out and, you know, nobody's there. I'm still having a great time. But then this one patron, extremely severely intoxicated, comes like stumbling, right, up to the stage. So I'm on the platform on the stage performing. I must have been doing Bohemian Rhapsody or Under Pressure or something. Guy comes stumbling to the stage, right? Boom, walking with his, you know, his leg was like messed up. He had a gimp walk.
Yeah.
And he plops on the stage like this, right? Like puts his forearm and his elbow on the stage, like right by my feet. So I'm there performing, singing, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, Mama. And then the guy's there, puts his elbow on my foot, and then just starts projectile vomiting.
Oh, no.
Projectile vomiting all over, everywhere, just all over the stage, all over my shoe. You know, I had my brand new Adidas shoes for Freddie Mercury. And I just remember thinking I kept going because the show must go on.
Absolutely.
But I'm just doing it. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't think I want to be performing for this type of crowd. I want to be performing for people that want to watch a performance, not for people that are just trashed and
just want to come and get drunk and do their thing.
So that's where I said, I'm gonna have to rearrange my plan here, you know, because I do want to do this for sure. I'm gonna put everything I have into this. I already recorded an album. I'm doing, you know, the gates are starting to open, but
yeah. So who called you from Legends?
So
about the gig.
So what happens is, from one day to the next, the nightclub closes down, right? So I had just bought a brand new car at that time. I started making a little bit of money, bought a brand new car, moved out to a brand new apartment with my girlfriend Bubbles. And then everything was perfect at this time.
But your dad predicted the club
closure,
shut down.
Nightclub, right? So he ended up being right on this one, right? Yeah. And what ends up happening is I received a phone call. I'm in my brand new apartment. I'm looking at Biscayne Bay. I'm looking at Bayside. It's such a beautiful day. And I just remember getting a phone call from the nightclub. Oh, what's going on here? Are we adding dates? You know, maybe they need me for a rehearsal or something, whatever. Mm-hmm. I pick up the phone and they said, Fernando, look, we're really sorry to tell you, but the nightclub is closing. Like you're out of a job. We're permanently shutting down. Like, what? I just bought a new car and I just moved into a new apartment. What do you mean we're shutting down?
That's normally how that happens, though.
and it was because, to tie it back into that guy, it was a money laundering scheme, apparently. Yeah, something like that. I don't know what it was. But anyways, I'm not quite sure what that whole ordeal was about. They just ended up shutting down, and that was that. But from that point forward, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go to Las Vegas, and I'm gonna go ahead and just put all my eggs into this basket, and I'm gonna try to get into a show in Vegas. That's what I'm gonna do. Mm-hmm. And then my dad told me, he said, man, you're out of your mind. Like, you think you're just gonna pop into Las Vegas and just, you know, headline.
But you know what? When I've noticed that when people go achieve their dream, whether it be family, friends, acquaintances and stuff, when you tell them what your dream is and where you want to be and where you want to go, more times than not, people always say, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. And I get that, because that happened to me so many times in my life and career. When I I was done with professional wrestling, when I wanted to go work in television, I was working in music, they said, it's never going to happen. But again, look at us. Here we are today talking about it. So yeah, life is beautiful, man.
It is, you know, and a lot of those instances, I used to have, you know, this little chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, I can't wait to like prove all these people wrong and prove myself right. But in retrospect, you know, especially where I'm at now, I actually give thanks and I'm grateful, because a lot of that was extremely motivational for me. And if it wasn't for that, you know, igniting the flames and allowing the electricity to manifest itself, it's like it wouldn't have happened. Maybe things would have resulted in a much different manner. You know, I had a lot of drive, and I had a big chip on my shoulder, and that was because I was very motivated.
Fernando, hold on, dude. Hold on, bro. These stories are so cool, but I got to stop you right there, because we're going to pick this up next episode. So this is going to be part 2 of Life After 3 with Fernando Castro. So guys, get ready for part 2, Fernando Castro, on the next episode of Life After 3.